on to the next topic that happened while Rebecca was in Puerto Rico, but we wanted to talk about it. Okay. Shannon Sharpe. If you don't know who Shannon Sharpe is, he is a ex NFL player. Let me show you a photo of him right here. This is him. This is Shannon Sharpe. He's an ex NFL player, but he is also a correspondent, I guess you would call him, or a talking head on ESPN.
Yeah, and then he has his own
Nightcap podcast.
podcast, but then he also has one with Ocho Cinco.
Mm-hmm.
He has his own, which is Nightcap with whatever him, and then the one that he has, Nightcap is the one he has with Ocho.
Yes, he is. So essentially, like, it's really like a pop culture thing. He talks about, like, at the end of the night, at night, he literally like recaps all the main topics that have happened that day. But also, you guys have probably seen he interviews people, and a lot of his interviews have gone viral through his other podcast where he had what was the name of the comedian?
Cat Williams. Cat Williams. He also had Kiki Palmer. He's had a lot of names, like names.
But a lot of those podcast episodes have gone viral, and so the moral of the story is that Shannon Sharpe is a big name when it comes to not only sports but just culture, right? And so last week, Shannon Sharpe had decided to step away from ESPN temporarily after being sued for assault, sexual assault, battery, and sexual battery. He has denied the allegations in the lawsuit brought on by an anonymous woman, right? We saw Shannon publish some one-sided text and some sort of phone call audio, right? Like, after it was published that he was being sued, Shannon took it upon himself, or maybe him and his legal people thought that it was a smart move. I don't know. But he released some one-sided text messages. So he was just releasing everything that this woman had said, but not his responses. And then TMZ leaked a supposed audio in which you can hear, Shannon Sharpe saying some things that were not very nice. So I was just like, I don't know what's happening here. So it's important to know, right, that Shannon Sharpe is 56 now, and the woman that's involved in this lawsuit, or that brought the lawsuit against Shannon Sharpe, at the time that they started dating, she was 20 years old. Okay. And according to CNN, the suit was filed in Las Vegas District Court by Jane Doe. So it hasn't been confirmed who this person is, because in the lawsuit it's Jane Doe, meaning it hasn't been published, like, who the woman is. And she accuses, again, the name of the podcast that we talked about, Club Shay host, of, quote, manipulating and controlling the plaintiff during a nearly 2-year period that started in 2023 as a consensual relationship when the woman was 20 years old. In the complaint, she alleges that Shannon Sharpe violently sexually assaulted her anally and raped her. So a lot of stuff. She said that he blatantly ignored her request for him to stop, and the complaint is seeking compensatory. The complaint is seeking compensatory and punitive damages of more than $50 million. There are some rumors. I'm not gonna get into or not, because I haven't seen it been confirmed by, like, an actual outlet that I find that's trustworthy. But, like, people are alleging that the Jane Doe is a woman that also had an OnlyFans account. So that doesn't make it neither right or wrong. So what was your response when you first saw these allegations or this lawsuit being brought against Shannon Sharpe?
I think with almost like a lot of lawsuits that we've been seeing over these past few years, because I feel like in the last year or two, we've seen a different lawsuit every day, basically. I definitely wait to see, like, what more information comes out, because it's very easy for you to be like, I'm gonna choose the side of the person being accused, or I'm choosing the side of the victim. Like me, I'm looking to see, like, what's coming out, because everybody's going to post things, like you mentioned earlier. Like, Shannon Sharpe posted these, like, one-sided text messages. Like, you're going to post whatever is going to benefit the narrative, right? So I think as everything is continuously come out, like, I've been waiting to see, like, I'm like, okay, like, what's this person gonna say? What's this person doing? Like, what are the attorneys saying? So, like, to me, I don't really have an opinion as of right now. I've like connected with Shannon Sharpe's content when it is those viral moments, but on a day-to-day basis, I'm not sitting here checking for Shannon Sharpe, right? And I don't know if this is like you mentioned, the girl was 20 at the time, and he was how old when he was dating her?
Well, if this happened 2023, 24, 25, it was 2 years ago. So 56, 55, he was like 54.
54. So a 54-year-old with a 20-year-old, right? Now,
Or
as
maybe it was 3 years
someone,
ago. I don't know.
huh?
I'm trying to do the math, but let's say for this sake, it was 50. What
Like
is it?
54, 54.
Right.
Yeah. As someone who has been a younger girl talking to someone older, um I think whenever I see things like this happen and you hear people say this is why you need to date within your age range, like, I think that is an important thing to mention, because I know when I was younger and I was talking to these people who were older than me, there is a disconnect in terms of life experience, conversation, and mentality. There is a difference, right? And I just feel like Shannon Sharpe is one of those people. He's kind of like Shaq. They're always with the like the youngest thing that they can find. Like, they just want to look like that dude who's I can bag anything, I can bag anyone. And it's just like, it gets to a point where you realize you are consistently stroking your ego for what? Like, you have to sit there and really figure out, what are you stroking your ego for? Who are you trying to get the approval from? Like, I get it, even though your status and your popularity, it speaks a lot of volume and you can get a lot of people. I don't think you need to go for everyone that you can, who's going to throw themselves at you. Right. So, like, as a 20-year-old, if I'm throwing myself at a 54-year-old at the time, as a 54-year-old, I need you got like, I'm over here, I'm young, I'm impressionable, I'm doing everything I can to just try and get to the hottest and the biggest thing. But you as a 54-year-old, you have been through life. You have seen all these different things. You've had your own experiences. You have to sit there and take a stand and say, "I nah, like, you're too young for me." And I think this is like an old clip or something that I've seen where, like, somebody like Shannon Sharpe was like, "Oh, everybody's talking about, like, I need to date within my age. I need to date within my age while I date within my wage." And it's like, what wage do you think a 20-year-old has? Unless you dating a nepo baby. Like, I don't understand what you thought this was.
Yeah, I think there is a track record with men who have a lot of money and also status. They get some sort of fulfillment from dating women that have less than them. And I'm talking about economically speaking, career speaking, and also just like status wise, right? Like, they get a high off of knowing that I am that quote unquote dominant man and you do what I say. They get a high off of that. And given there are women that are okay with that, right? Like, there are women that actually prefer that. I don't want to work. I don't want to do nothing. I just want to, I want my man to pay everything and do the things. So I think it is, it's just sad, right? Because if you, at a certain point, like, you're 50, you, again, if you don't want to have kids, that's absolutely fine. But like, settle down. You know what I mean? Like, have a conversation with God, or if you don't believe in God, just have like a well, he does believe in God. I think he does. I think he is religious. But like, have a conversation with Jesus. You need to settle down with someone your age. Stop with that. Not like, and I get it. Some people just like to date older and whatever. But I think at some point we need to cut that. We need to cut it because you are not going to ever, and again, I may be wrong and I'm just very blindsided with my way of thinking, but like, a 50-year-old and 20-year-old, you cannot look me straight in the face and say that you for real love this man. I'm so sorry. You don't. I'm in my late 20s, and I'm telling you right now, I am not about to be dating no 54-year-old. We are in a completely different stages of our lives. And yes, he could probably give me everything that I want, in the sense of like, we could fly out every weekend and we can do this and we can do that. But like, again, a 20-year-old's mindset, like, they're probably like just starting to figure out life. And in terms of like, this whole sexual assault case is like, they're even trying to figure out their sexual life, what they like, what they don't like. And you're at this age, a 54-year-old, you're probably have done everything in the books. And you probably don't have like the mentality or space to want to like wait for her, because you are so old and you've experienced it all. And to you, you're saying like, oh, well, I've been done anal every other time. Like, what you mean you don't want me to, you know what I mean? Like, there's just so many things mentally and life wise that are just so apart that, sometimes it doesn't matter how many times you try to like give advice. I think Monique, I might be messing her up with another person, but like, I think he had her on the podcast and she literally said like, listen, you need to settle down with someone your age. Stop trying to look for these young girls. Stop. And lo and behold, he probably went in one ear out the other, and look now.
And I want to preface this by also saying, like, we're not saying that this conversation that we're having about like the age gap and differentials and stuff like that is any excuse that if he did do all these things that the woman is claiming, that, oh, it's because of the age and stuff like that. Like, no, what we're saying is, as someone like, and I'm only talking from my experience, as someone who has been 20 years old, in their 20s, in their like 18 to 20s or whatever like that, who have talked to older men and stuff like that, it's like, it gets to a point like where I look at how like I was then and I look at the mindset that I have now, and I'm like, Rebecca, honestly, like, what about that situation did you think was actually meant for you? You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's like, yes, I fault myself, but I'm also like, if a grown man had looked at me dead in my face, it was like, like, you're very young, like, look for someone who's more your age, someone who fits more of your mindset, grow and learn yourself and do what you need to do, then I would be like, yeah, you're right. But it's just like, also, if you willing to go with it, and me being young and me being like, oh my God, like da 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 da, and I'm gonna just keep rocking and rolling and doing whatever I do, it's like, at one point, like, from both parties, y'all guys sit there and look at what is best for me and suitable for me mentally. What works best for me in the direction of my life? What works best with me when it comes to life expectations? As a 50-year-old, I'm going to have completely different expectations than a 20-year-old who is still looking at life. We're going to have two different expectations out of life. And to your point, when it comes to like sexual and stuff like that, you are learning your likes, you're learning your dislikes, you're learning your comfortability levels and what you're not comfortable with. At 50 years old, you already know what you like. You already settled into it. And if you don't know what that is, what it's like, you go with people who are experienced in those ways to see what it is that you like. But you stick with what you know, stick within your like age. Like, I would say, if you 50 years old, the youngest you should probably be going to is maybe like 45, maybe.
Yeah. And also, this brings up the importance of consent. Just because I consent to kiss you or to go to second base, that doesn't mean that, oh, because I said yes to second base, you automatically gonna hit the home run. Okay. No. If by the time we hit the second base, I say stop, or I don't feel comfortable, or I don't want to continue, and you continue, that is sexual assault. That is rape. You know what I mean? Like, I think as a whole, like women, men, all species, like, we have to make it really clear what consent means. Just because I consent to one thing doesn't mean that you can go all the way. No. If by the time like I said, if I get to one point and I say no or stop it, you need to stop it. And I understand, well, not I understand, but yes, it may be hard when you're already aroused and you at this point and like to stop, but you need to, because actions have consequences. And I believe someone that truly loves you would be okay with that. If I tell you stop, you should be able to stop because you actually care for me.
Exactly. And just because something was a yes in the moment of comfortability, the moment something gets uncomfortable, somebody is allowed to sit there and tell you no. And I have heard this from various sides, from men and women who talk about like consent, and like the amount of people that I know who have been sexually abused in some shape, way, or form is absolutely disgusting. And that's because nobody wanted to take the word NO and they just wanted to continue ON. And it's just like, that is not okay. That's
No, it's
not okay.
unacceptable.
Let the no be the no and let the yes be the yes. And understand when somebody's sitting there telling you and like speaking to you about their uncomfortability, you don't need to coach and coerce them, coerce
Mhm.
them into being like, nah, it's okay. Like, you're going to love it. If I don't like it right now, let me grow to that.
Yeah.
Let me sit there and be able to tell you, okay, I'm willing to try it this day. You know?
Especially something so intimate that I feel like for if to be like pleasurable for both sides need to feel like I want to do this and be let loose. Like, and again, like that's important. There's someone out there for everybody. If this person says no and they're not comfortable, I promise you, you will go outside and find someone that is okay with doing whatever you like. And that's okay, but don't force somebody to do something that they don't want to do. Like, that's
Yeah.
not okay.